Alright, now we're on part 2 of this hub removal on a A4. I had to make 2 videos because my phone died during the first one. So this is where we're at. We got the hub out. You can see how much crap is down in there, all that road grime. So we're going to scrub all that out with some 60 grit sandpaper. And even have to scrape some of it out possibly. Either way, you want to get that clean, nice machine surface both in the bore and on this face, so you have a nice area, nice surface for the new hub to go on to. Now I have the old hub over in my hydraulic press right now, so I'm going to take you guys over there. The garage is kind of a mess right now, but I think we all know who that is. Alright, so I got the old hub. The wheel flange is down here. This is the back side of the hub, and I got it mounted in my large bearing separator. Most of the time you're able to, there's supposed to be nuts that go down here on the end, but I had to fully extend this to get that in there, but that's fine because we're just going to be pushing down. So what I actually have in there, this is a bearing installation tool. It's aluminum. Now, like I said, I wasn't going to mention all the tools in the beginning of the video. I was just going to show you what I use as I go. And I also got a large socket on there just to kind of push down on the bearing tool. You can pick up these bearing race drivers at pretty much any auto parts store. I got a whole set of them here, all different sizes. So now that that's in there, we're going to go ahead and crank on my press here and push that wheel flange right out. And see, it's damn near effortless. You could probably do this with a hammer, and there it goes. Now I figured that would happen where only half the bearing came out. So what we got to do in order to get this half of the bearing out, I'm going to take that same chisel that I used on the other 2 parts, and we're going to pound in between the flange here and the bearing to get that loose. And then we'll go back to my bearing separator and set the teeth, you know, the jaws of it down in between, down in that little gap once we get that opened up more. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and get this other half of the bearing, the other bearing race off of the wheel flange. So I got my sharp pointed chisel. I'm going to take a hammer and just kind of tap on this thing. You want to be careful when you do this so you don't run into your machine surface down there. It's not a huge deal if you hit it, but it's best that we don't. You'll also have to kind of do this on both sides evenly because it is such a tight fit. You don't want to get it lopsided because then it'll just get stuck on here. Okay, you can see how that's starting to separate there. So I'm just going to keep on working on this, and then I'll come back once we're ready to press it off. Alright, back with the wheel flange, kind of show you guys what we're actually trying to do. You can see it's got the that little thin, that's just the thin metal piece. That is really just the cover for the grease, to keep it, you know, the seal for the grease. The part we're actually trying to get off is, if you look down in there, you can see that that thin shiny area. Okay, we're trying to get that bearing race that's on there. That's what we're trying to get off, and it's pressed all the way up against the back of the flange here, so that's why you need that sharp chisel and get it right in at that crack and pound it down in between. And you have to work around this evenly. Like I said, it's a precisely machined surface, so you know you can't really wiggle it too much in one direction. I may not even have to press this off. I could probably just get it off with the chisel and the hammer, just by working around it. So it's not absolutely necessary to have a press for this. You can, like I said, you can probably put something together just with a hammer and a couple blocks of wood. It really helps having that bearing race and driver set, and some sockets. So let's see if I can't just get this off of here without the press. Come on, hold still. There we go. All I'm going to do is I'm going to set it down flat on the face. Take my other chisel, this is the non-sharp one, because I don't want to hit that machine surface and ding it up. I'm going to stick it in there and just hit on top of this right here. And these are pretty sturdy, so I don't really have to worry about breaking it. Just kind of stick it in there and hold it and back it, turn it, put it in another spot, just keep on working around it. Yes, it'd be easier just for me to walk over and put this in the press, but I'm just doing this just to prove that you don't need the press to take it off. See, there's the bearing race that was on there, and there's our empty flange. And see how that's stepped? You're going to need to pay attention to that because your bearing has two different sizes in it, two different size races. It only goes on one way, so you really can't mess it up. Okay, now we got our new bearing. We're going to clean off this flange, get all the crap and any amount of dirt and grease off of this surface you can. You want this thing completely clean before the new bearing goes on here. You don't want to be pressing your bearing on over any grit. That'll really compromise things here. Alright, that's looking pretty clean. I'm gonna go ahead and put some oil on there to help assist getting the new one on. Seems how it's a brand new bearing, it's gonna be tight fit. Probably would have been better to use some high temp grease for this, but this will work. You don't need too much on here, just a thin coat. Okay, now we're going to clean the new bearing and get it ready to go on. Like I said, it's got two different size races. So this one right here is a smaller, here's a larger. So this is going to go towards this face of the flange, the back face. Okay, got the larger race. That's gonna go on first. So the larger one's over here. There we go. And now we're gonna go press this on. Alright, I got our wheel flange and new wheel bearing set up in the press here. You could probably get away doing this with a hammer, like I said times before. But since I have a press, and this is a new bearing, I'm going to use the press so I don't risk damaging the new bearing. You just kind of set it on some blocks and grab a plate, set it on the bearing, and kind of stack crap together until you get something that works. Alright. Now it's going to make that jolting noise as we push it down. When it stops making noise and stops moving, starts giving us resistance, and you know it's on. And it looks like that's it. Now some of you might be worried about that oil that I put on there, thinking it's going to come loose, and well, don't be. This is a press fit assembly, which means that hole in the bearing race is actually about 1,000 smaller than the flange itself. So as that goes down, it's actually going to push most of that oil out. But you don't have to worry about that coming loose. It's in there. You see, and that's run all the way up against there. Alright, here's all that crap that is in our hub bore there. See all that corrosion? That's what really locks that thing in there. That's why I heated it up and banged on it and sprayed that penetrating lubricant in there. So now I got to scrape all that out, and then I'm going to take some 60 grit sandpaper and clean out the bore by hand, and then I'm going to very carefully take a 120 grit grinding wheel to this face. You don't really want to grind on that too much, otherwise you'll get it out of square. But just to give it a nice surface for that new hub to sit on, because if I put it on like it is now, it would not be good. Also, I forgot to mention that this bolt up here is kind of tricky to get out. I might have to take off my tie rod and turn the knuckle in order to get it out, because it's hitting on, this bolt's hitting on that nut down there. So we might have to do that. I'll let you guys know what comes of that. Alright, we're back here. I got the bore to the new wheel bearing all cleaned out. Scraped out as much as I could with a knife, and then used some 60 grit sandpaper to sand out the rest. Once that was all done, there's a ton of dust in there, so I just sprayed it all out with some brake clean, and now we're ready to start putting things together. I did say I was going to let you know what I had to do with the bolt, because it was hitting that nut. I ended up just getting a brass drift and stuck it in that hole and hit it once with a hammer, and it popped right out. And then I just took that hammer again with the new bolt and just tapped it right back through there, so that was easy enough. Didn't have to take the tie rod off. Now I'm going to go ahead and put Loctite on all these new bolts, and then I'm going to slide the new bearing assembly in. Once you get the axle started into the new bearing, you can just put the bolt in there and kind of pull it in the rest of the way by hand. Got some crud in there. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put these in and tighten them down. I believe the torque spec on these was 146 foot-pounds. Maybe, no, that can't be. I will look that up quick and let you guys know. Okay, I tried looking for a definite answer on the torque for these in a repair manual, and it said just to take it to a professional mechanic and have this procedure done. Obviously, if you're watching this video, we're well past that point. So I'm gonna have to hop on the internet and do some searching, and then I will post the answer in the comments. But yeah, here is the meat of the whole operation, and I got the new hub in there. We just got to torque those bolts down to what they're supposed to be and reinstall all the parts, reverse of removal, and pretty basic stuff. So the hard work's been done. And like I said, I will post the answer for the torque spec in the comments. These are M12 bolts. This bolt, it's an M16 that gets torqued to 146 foot-pounds, and then an additional 180 degrees is what they say. Everybody says they really can't even get it to that point, so basically it just needs to be really freaking tight. So we're going to torque it to that 146 and then get it to where we can with the breaker bar and leave it at that. So, I know this video was very long and disorganized. I'm not the best at making videos, but hey, at least I think it should help somebody out. So, there you are. Good luck.